what's happening here? Everyone is talking about the all-new Lexus ES. Close to 1 million people have been watching our static reveal already. Why are they talking about this vehicle? Well, here, the all-new Lexus ES basically combines the ES and the LS in one car. So this is their new flagship sedan. And there are some choices about this car which are extraordinary good and really great to talk about. But there are also other things. And it's also fighting against the German premium competition, the BMW 5 Series, both as combustion and the electric, the Mercedes E-Class or the electric correspondent, the EQE, or maybe now recently revealed the C-Class electric, and of course also the Audi A6 together with its EV brother, the A6 e-tron, because this one here, the all-new Lexus ES, both comes all electric and with combustion engine as the famously known inbuilt hybrid. And we're going to take you on a tour, both EV and hybrid, tell you everything you need to know, exterior, interior, technology and driving with Tomass's Autogefuehl의 in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the all-new ES. In this case here, this is the electric version first, but they don't differ so much in the design, honestly. Here all the way closed, lower part than the opening. This color here is called Wavelength, and I think it's a beautiful, very unique bluish color. I love the exterior, both the design and the color. Tell me what you think. Then here this, samurai sword cutting, daytime running light design here by Lexus. And you can also get matrix LED for this vehicle depending on the trim. The length here, this is the most significant thing, is now at 5 meters 14 or 202 inches. That's 16.5 centimeters or 6.5 inches longer than before. And that makes this car now basically one, ES and LS, one car. So longer than the ES before, shorter than the LS before. And that means it also sits then in between, like a 5 Series and the 7 Series, or in between an E-Class and an S-Class and so on. Very interesting. 19 or 21 inch wheels. These are the smaller ones, the 19 inch. It looks, of course, a little bit more balloonish, so to speak, and the 21 inch will look more striking. However, these here will deliver more comfort. Even more important, because most of the versions will have, like this one here, a standard suspension. The AVS, the adaptive suspension, is only available for the highest spec electric one. Strange choice as for that. And very curious design elements. I mean, you have the stretched sedan line, but then you have this cutting in black element there. So on the one hand, they have the classic look, but then again, they make dramatic changes here and there. Very interesting, definitely. You get front-wheel drive models or all-wheel drive models, both for the hybrid and the electric powertrain. This one here being the ES350e. That means there's the front-wheel drive electric one. There's also an all-wheel drive electric one, the 500e. And then you have an electric mode, an additional one in the rear. The all-wheel drive electric accelerates in 5.5 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. This one here, together with all the hybrid versions, they're all around the 8-second mark. So it's not a performance car unless you want more performance with the all-wheel drive model in the electric version. And the main difference is here indeed this one being the electric. So they have two different battery sizes, 71 or 72 kilowatt hours. That is because they have different battery suppliers. 72 kilowatt hours here for the front-wheel drive 350e electric version. And we'll also talk about the charging very soon, because the charging clip is right there. By the way, if you've seen here, like very slim integration, the illuminated Lexus lettering here, they go more for lettering instead of badges. And then here, recharging is in the front passenger side, actually. That's interesting. 22 kilowatt AC, glad we get that. And then you have a DC peak of only about 150 kilowatt, and it charges in 28 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge. This is as for the electric one. I can also check out if it has a frunk or not. Meanwhile, let me tell you also about the hybrid. This is the well-known 2.5 liter 4-cylinder inbuilt hybrid by Toyota. Also promises, of course, great MPG and so on as usual. And that one is available either in a 200 or a 250 horsepower spec. The latter one especially thought for the North American market. And I asked them what was the choice as for the powertrains. And that's very interesting. Here, first of all, no frunk for the EV version. You can fill up some wiper fluid then here, for example, and access the like the low voltage battery here, so that's possible. Otherwise, you'll have the hybrid engine here. And then they said they actually started from the 350h, the higher horsepower hybrid, and then kind of like detuned to the smaller one, the 300h, which will be available in Europe. So it's not the other one around that they started from the small one and then tuned the other one higher, you know. So that's why they also don't differ so much in the acceleration figures. It's more a little bit about the horsepower figure and also more about the emission thing. And if you wonder, here is our hybrid that we will drive later on, and yeah, you can see it basically looks almost completely the same, so not much design difference. And the VMAX is also very interesting. 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour for the inbuilt hybrid. Then we have 180 kilometers an hour, 112 miles per hour for the all-wheel drive electric. And here for this one, front-wheel drive electric, only 160 kilometers an hour, 100 miles per hour. That is, for most countries, not a problem. For Germany, it might. But then again, the range, of course, will drop also significantly. And let me also have a first remark then here on the powertrain choices, because, I mean, as I said, like from the exterior thing, stunning car, there will be more stunning things coming up in the interior. I see the market for this car really more again with the inbuilt hybrid. Why is that? The electric version is very interesting, and there is a market also now for large sedans electric, yes, but 5 meters and 14, 202 inches, and then 71 and 72 kilowatt hours net battery. Why? And I also asked them that actually, and they said they thought it is the right and proper choice for a global market, and I strongly disagree, because even the Mercedes CLA, which is that length shorter, has a 85 kilowatt hour battery, you know, and then the competition, even the BMW i3 comes up with like almost 109 kilowatt hours now, and that is like 1 to 2 segments below that, you know. So the battery size for the electric vehicle here is way, 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 way too small. Plus the charging is not fast at all. So really have to say, outdated charging tech for this vehicle, sadly to say that. However, we were also going to test the efficiency of this car today, see if we can still score a significant range for that. But considering what we see at this moment, I think the hybrid will be drivetrain-wise the more interesting one, unless you don't care so much about, you know, long-haul driving. Or they also said they think about fleet customers and so on, maybe using it like shorter trips daily, maybe even taxi, Uber purposes and so on, which maybe don't have like long mileage, you know, in the kilometer or mile sense, but just drive a lot of hours per day. But then don't consume so much of the battery. Yeah, big discussion point definitely about that. What they also wanted to focus on is that they say they want to have the maximum durability of the battery. This is also something that Lexus is of course known for, to get maximum out of durability and reliability. And they want to apply the same here also, of course, for their EVs. That's also one of the arguments. And now, let's check out the interior. First of all, the handles here. I mean, they are somewhat integrated, but then again, I do have like a physical feedback here behind, and that's what I appreciate, that they don't have the folding out door hands then. Door closing sound, really solid like that. Nice quality, and one of my favorite features is, it beeps by the way because I have the ignition on. Ignition, if you want to say so, here for the EV version. Acoustic windows, you can see here the lamination, and that is not only in the front, but also for the rear windows. I really appreciate that. Then inside of the doors you can get different colors. Here the white, you can also get a brown or a black one. This softly padded, look at that, this is a high-grade leather red. And here, this is even softer. You can also get a deco element where I have like a wooden element with shining through from behind. But this one's pretty cool here with the high-grade leather red as well. Super soft. Classic window lever control. Classic controls of the side mirrors. Appreciate it. Pressing electric to opening the door, or pulling twice as a manual fail-safe. Then here the only thing that is hard, black plastic in the lower part. Also super slim, this door. I mean, what's supposed to fit in there? Nothing basically. Maybe here one drink. And then it's all hard pack, no cover from the inside. Lexus entry sill badge. And then also, I like the large stitching here on the floor mats, for example. By the way, from the ground, they also have these special knobs here. Almost looks like a fuck here, you know, like these shows where they put it on the needle beds there. Yeah, interesting about that. And then steering wheel. This is always an animal-free material, which is really astonishing, super soft and has a more matte-ish appearance. Then here we do have capacitive buttons on the steering wheel. This is interesting. This is here, also here on the left, sorry dear, here for the volume and for next music title, basically on the same button and depending on where you go up and down. Interesting about that. Yeah, about that. And then here, this is also like, I mean, it's not super soft, but also not hard on the airbag. On the left side, this is then here, these integrated capacitive buttons, but still they give some kind of feedback, you know, and we see more of that in the middle console. This is also soft. Yeah, look at that. Here the instruments, how they're embedded in microfiber. That is beautifully done, definitely. And proper large instruments with a matte-ish display. Then these seats here is also the perforated Nulux material. And this is, yeah, next level, I will really have to say. They look beautiful, they are heated, they are cool, and the softness is extraordinary. So it's super soft. I love that. Definitely great. And also good in comfort. So they are super comfortable. Also on the head restraint. So this is one of the best things here about this car indeed. Now to the cockpit. Here, first of all, this is still a panoramic roof. Let's leave some more light in. And luckily, this is also one that you can still actually open like this. So yeah, why not? Not too large, the opening though. And headroom here, 18962, you still see here, that still works. Also when you're tall, fabric covering from the inside, you still have the grab handles. Then let's check out here the sun visor. Is it extendable? Ah, yeah, it is, at least here in this US spec. So that's always very handy to have that. Steering wheel, electric, up and down, in and out, smooth and easy process. Then here the shifting pedals, which are not shifting pedals, and here for the electric version are then to get more recuperation or less recuperation in actually. Then classic also for the like for the indicators, right side for the wipers. Middle console, this is here actually quite soft for your elbow, and you open it to both sides. You can also put a cable through here, that will also be possible. There's USB-C charging underneath, and you can also open it from that side, so both is possible. Slide it open like this. It's a very interesting material surface here as well. It's like, it feels like also softish. Interesting. Cup holders, also 3-point adaptive, that's cool. However, not cool and not cooled is the inductive charging pad on the left side, which will overheat probably. 2 more USB-C chargers there. And underneath, thank you Leah, is some more space here actually. The shifting lever is very slim and integrated to have more space overall. And then we have the new largest ever Lexus infotainment system. This here, the Apple CarPlay connection already, but you can also go back to the Lexus menu. Also, of course, have the car inbuilt GPS map. For the fan speed, you have to click here. Then for heated steering wheel there, and heated or cooled seats are available here, or you can also set it to auto. Luckily for the temperature, I can move here. This is a very interesting feeling. So it has like a small, let's say, indentation you feel, and then you press it and also get some kind of feedback. And it will actually be when I turn off the ignition and I also lock the vehicle, then you can see this disappeared and it looks like nothing. You can just feel it a little bit. And of course it will get fingerprints on this exact stage where it is actually. When you open the car again, then you can see it appears again. Interesting solution. I mean, I appreciate it in the sense that I don't have to do everything in the screen, and the feedback is actually not too bad. Yeah, about that. Real manual is here the volume jog, so that's cool, and also has this kind of galvanized knurling around, so that's actually pretty fancy. And then you can scroll through the menu here on the left side. Interesting is for deactivating assistance systems. Only press the Lexus logo there. Then you can, for example, deactivate some assistance systems right here. This will be interesting. This US spec, but the EU speed chime law probably will also be about that. Then you can also see once again the digital instruments from here. You can change some of the views like this, more clean, more informative view, assistance system view, map view is also possible here, for example, or then this, yeah, this classic view. You can also optionally get a head-up display. Sound system-wise, by the way, the Mark Levinson sound system, either 10 or 17 speakers. I have here the 10 speaker one, and that is like nothing special, honestly. So maybe gonna test the 17 at another point. Now we have here the Mark Levinson 17 speaker sound system here in the second vehicle, and That's
They're
really,
really good, yeah.
that's cool. That's hot. Why can't you say cool and hot and it means the same, kind of like? It's also weird, right? But you know, again, it's like, wow, great sound here. So definitely worth the upgrade. And told you many colors are available. This is here the brown Nulox material, same material of course, but just the brown styling. I think it's also pretty cool. It always depends on the color on the exterior combination. I personally really love the white seats. Some say, you know, they prefer the darker tone. Leah doesn't like the brown that much. I think it's cool, especially when you have like a, let's say like a gray or black exterior or a blue exterior and brown seats inside. I think it's also pretty cool. But I think Leah and I can agree on the white seats, right? Yeah, that will be fine. Yeah. And here inside of the doors, top part is, let's say, not the softest, but not the hardest. But this one is, and especially that one here. Look at that, super soft in here from the inside. No cover from the door pockets here whatsoever, and the same great super plush and soft material with, look at that seating depth here in the rear. That's amazing. Isofix outside each, then you can fold down this. That folds down directly though. That is a stunt. Don't like that much actually. Then here, cup holders, you can move them up here a little bit, and they're also somewhat adaptive like this. It's also where I open the ski hatch for the trunk, for example. You can even lock the ski hatch for the trunk, by the way. But then this one is nicely padded. And once again, as I said, like in the front, oh, it's actually also like the seating length is quite significant. That is actually quite cool. And that also makes it comfortable. So although, once again, the feet are not too low here because the seats are so long, and I think they still manage to have, you know, a quite good angle from the seat. So good rear comfort. Headroom gets close, but still works with 1A9 6x2. Can also put these head restraints here more up, hopefully. Let's see about that. Oh, look at these. Look at these. Oh, that's not that long though. See, so that's how they're secured. Wow, they're also super plush and everything, but is it high enough? Not really. So for my size, for my height, the head restraints should be higher. See here, like in case of a crash from behind, that you don't get whiplash. Yeah, so they should be higher, but themselves they are very comfortable. I just need to be like, that's the stuff. But yeah. You get the idea. But the coolest thing to me is that the seats are long in the rear, and we rarely have that actually. And again, soft and plush from the seating depth. 2 USB-C chargers here in the front, and also this own vent here. And you can see right there, of course, the wheelbase has gained here. When I'm sitting in the front, I have the seat pretty much back and land backwards. Massive amounts of rear legroom. Super long wheelbase. I mean, it's not the length has increased, the wheelbase has increased, and also the track, like the width, in comparison to the previous generation ES. And there you can see that it's now a mix of ES and LS. And now we found the car with the executive package here for the rear. So it's only available for the BEV and the high trim, sadly. First of all, I can use this middle console here. And then, for example, here, this is a button for the rear shade. So here behind me, there's a rear shade opening and closing. So yeah, that's one nice option. And then when the ignition is turned on, I have different possibilities here. I have, for example, a seat massage function. That's interesting. It's interesting, really. And even more important, look at that here, the front passenger seat. Oh, I even have rear seat cooling and rear seat heating. So that works as well. And now when I press this button, then here, the passenger seat in the front goes forward. Backward, it will have to be done from there again. I cannot move it back again. So once it's in the front, it's there. Look at that here, the head restraint goes down. That's an interesting feature, right? So there I have like a very good visibility to the front. And then let's see. I mean, there's now plenty of space, and I can even here move this calf rest upward like this. Let's see how much space I will ultimately have, and then I can also move this one here backwards. I think that's the most backward position there is here, because here you can see it can be moved forward, but then all the way backward. So, and then, yeah, I mean, for my 1A9 6x2, it's interesting, but it's rather like when you have shorter legs, actually. So not the best for, you know, really long legs. That's the thing. It works, you know, but you see that it's better when they're flying in the air a little bit, you know, like this. So it's an interesting feature to have, but and then the question is, does it block the view to the side mirror there? I think that's still okay. I think it's a great idea that they put the head restraint down. That way you can, you know, actually still see the right side mirror as a driver, but limited use case depending on your height, definitely. Now to the trunk or the boot. 520 liters for the BEV, 490 liters for the hybrid. And by the way, I want to show you one thing. Here everything is, you know, is covered nicely and so on, but then when I close it, just listen to that. It's maybe a little bit too, yeah. I like when they pay more attention to the closing sound, actually. And then here, let's see, it's a wide opening. This is also high enough, so to speak. Also one thing here, like how it's covered here, like just with cable, this is not that nicely done, that everything is like open here. And also this edge is quite sharp, gotta say that. However, space-wise, this here 1.40 meters between the, like the inner arches here. This is then way wider. The normal length here is, the longest part is like 45 inches, 1.14 meters, and the height, you can see here 22 inches or 55 centimeters. There is this ski hatch here available, so you can open this small hatch and then load things through. It's kind of small though. Underneath here, there is some space for a very small charging cable though, I'm gonna say that. Welcome to our driving part here. First acceleration, 15 to 45 miles. There we go. Actually nice, decent. Although it is here just 8 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, it's actually enough. This one here, the front wheel drive, all electric version. There's also the all-wheel drive, which would be at 5.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. So that would be then the alternative. I'll also zero out this quick acceleration for our first efficiency and consumption test. And yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind is, yeah, very comfortable here with the seats. Leah also gets here, gives up the thumbs up for the vehicle. So yeah, the really comfortable seats, it's a cool thing. With the exception of here, like where my knee is exactly in, I really have to put it like in this tiny area here, and that's a little bit weirdo, you know. And I already sit quite far behind, so that's maybe the only thing that's not that good for comfort, that you have to put the long legs knee in this tiny area there. Yeah, that's about it. Good to control the steering here.
Surfboards, yeah.
Oh yeah, that people are with the surfboards here, San Diego area, definitely cool thing. Then here, it's a nice steering feel actually. So it's really crisp and direct, and it's fun to steer it around. That's actually great. I mean, Lexus is not like famously known for the best steerings. That's not like their core point or something. But here they worked on that even more, and has a very, very good grip and feel to it, and also very precise in what I do. So the lane change is a lot of fun, although you know that the wheelbase here has increased a lot. And standing here at the traffic light, you already hear that it's like super silent. You know, we have both windows in the front and also in the rear with the lamination there inside. And just to compare that, then when we put the windows down, and also how we put the windows down is a super smooth process. You know, so like how smooth they go up and down, that's always a premium sign there. I love that. Automatic, of course, just pulling it once and that's it. So super silent here already at lower speeds. I'm looking forward to how it is then at higher speeds with the noise insulation and so on. 19-inch wheels we have on our first ride here, and I think that's a good thing, because the 21-inch wheels, they might look cooler, but these here definitely give more comfort, because there's just more dampening from the tire left. And I really appreciate that here, for example, see here the road is, there's also some construction. The road is kind of destroyed here now also, like, yeah, let's go through this pothole. And yeah, so the rare case where I intentionally go through a pothole actually, but in this case I think it's really fine. So good choice with the 19-inch wheels, I feel. This one does not have the adaptive suspension or something like that, and I have a very good feeling for the car. It's not too soft, it's not shaking up or something, but considering there is no special suspension technology behind this vehicle here now, I think we have to go one more straight, right? So no special suspension technology behind it. And considering that, I think it's really soft, right? Soft and comfortable together then with the seats and the good noise insulation. I think this is like this 3-element combination here. The noise insulation, the great seating comfort, the softness of the seats, and also the good suspension. And that really gives you a very elaborated feeling. And they had to be cautious with that because, said initially, they are combining ES and LS, so LS customers are not supposed to be disappointed, you know. So I think this is like a very important point, that they can also make these customers still happy somewhat. So super smooth driving feeling as for that. And the all-electric version, of course, accounts for that as well, because we have the silent drive that fits to the vehicle actually very, very well. And we'll soon then take a look at how the efficiency is. We're now going onto the motorway here and just go like 65 miles an hour, so like 105 to 110 kilometers an hour constantly. We can also check out here and the noise display here, like these very rough surfaces. Usually you see the right one would be a little bit softer asphalt. The left one, the bright one, is usually a little bit rougher, but still there's not much rolling noise from underneath actually. Let's see it now. I think for these speeds, optimized very well. At some point maybe we have to test it how it is on the German Autobahn then at really, really high speeds. But here so far, do we really profit from this lamination in the windows, also when some larger trucks are overtaking us here, the Tundra TRD once again in a different color.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty cool,
Want
right?
to drive this one.
Yeah, yeah. Leah is totally a fan of the large pickup trucks. So now let's see, adaptive cruise control set, and then we can also set here the individual speed at the steering wheel. Let's see, it also does a semi-automated lane change. Yeah, there we go. So this was not me changing the lane. So far so good. Also upgraded as for the assistant systems. And I mean, it is in general quite loud here on the highways around San Diego and LA because of this rough tarmac here. But considering, I think especially like that there's no voice, noise from the wind, especially. This is like what the insulation of the windows do primarily.
It's getting hot here from above.
Yeah, we have it open to mount the camera here. That's of course hot, so better when you have it closed. The good thing is that you can actually close it. And here you see the motorway is doing some bends. So let's see once again in the next left bend how the steering is reacting right there. Let's see about that. So I'm not doing that. Not too many corrections so far. Quite smooth, it seems. So definitely also upgrading the assistant system. Let's do one more automated lane change right here. There we go. Oh, seems fine. And of course also keeping the distance to the cars in front of us there. You do realize that you sit still quite high in comparison to other classic sedans. And yeah, the more I drive, the more stranger it is with the knee. So maybe I have to go even further back a little bit with the seat, and it's actually a little bit better. At least everything is nicely adjustable. That's the thing, you know. But it blends well with the rest of the traffic here. Looks also classy on the exterior and really gives you this very sophisticated, I would say, sovereign driving feeling. Drivetrain-wise, from the electric drivetrain, I mean, it's quick enough, it's smooth, it's silent, that's all fine. If we go out of this cruise control thing now, here for example, hitting the brakes, I can also show you here on the left pedal, I can increase the regenerative braking. So if I would then go off the throttle, it's hammering it in strong, and then you can go 1, 2, 3, 4 levels back. And then you can also go to basically no regenerative braking at all. So when I lift my foot off the throttle, then it just keeps rolling. And then the regen is happening when you hit the brake pedal. You can also see it then here in this regen meter. And my favorite setting is, I think, probably like a little bit of regen. So you have a little bit of deceleration when you go off the throttle, but that it's not too hard, because then it's also applying much force than on the passenger. So that would be my favorite setup here for this one. And our efficiency test results. So we mainly did now 105 kilometers an hour, 65 miles an hour on the motorway, back and forth, topographic equalization. And that's the good news. It's an efficient vehicle. The length helps for that, and everything else was of course now ideal situation, you know, We have like nice mild temperatures on the outer 76 degrees Fahrenheit, so like 23 degrees Celsius. And we scored some 14.5 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers. So it's 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Means here at this kind of average speed, which is a very realistic one here for the US, for example, you can do some 500 kilometers or 300 miles real world range in a realistic way. But what about driving the hybrid? All right, let's now go with the hybrid and we can do a first acceleration test here, the same 15 to 45 mpg. Let's go with the all-wheel drive hybrid. Let's go. Oh, that's it. Not too bad. I mean, on paper, this one is even faster, like 7.5 seconds, 0 to 1 kilometers an hour with the all-wheel drive. Additional small electric motor at the rear then, in comparison to the front-wheel drive electric one. Of course, here you hear more of that engine. It's not that smooth when you pin it down. But the big question is, of course, like, how is it when you, like, let's say, normally drive it? I'll also reset the trip meter, that we can also give you some good mileage figure then for the hybrid as well. So, driving it here, one different... sometimes you want to do something here with the digital instruments, and when you try to hold the OK button, what I try to do here, then it kind of like messes up everything and it keeps scrolling through. Yeah, now I could do it. So this one here now in the front has the lamination, but just in the front window, not in the rear. So I'm looking forward to, when we go to the highway, if we can also hear or feel the difference. As for that, when we're here braking to the traffic light, then we're also in the EV mode. Also says here in the instruments, then there's like always like this small EV symbol, and then everything starts to feel kind of similar, you know, not much of a difference. I'm also looking forward to if Leah can realize if there's a difference on the motorway then, because she's usually preferring like the EV driving experience, unless you get sick from really...
Maybe because of ES? Unless
Unless ES,
yeah.
I don't know, or Unlexus or something.
Unless?
I don't know. Unless Leah? Maybe the car is called Leah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's that. Yeah. Here now, EV mode is off again when I'm doing some like normal acceleration here. Takes it from the combustion engine. Steering and everything and how the car behaves is kind of similar. On paper, of course, here the hybrid is lower in weight, clearly. Would I say that I directly feel it? Maybe a little or something. But that would more become obvious when you really push it to the corners and so on. A little bit more traffic. Oh, look at that. There's the previous generation Lexus ES300H in front of us, so you can also compare then the design a little bit, and that one of course but not available all electric yet. Here then good situation also once again when you're stuck in that kind of traffic that you are still in the electric mode, although you would have the petrol fueling up possibility, and then of course it's always used for taxi and Uber purposes as well, that they then go this stop and go in the city traffic and so on. And this you can also do with the hybrid then. It's always we're leaning a little bit to the left here because the road is curved a little bit like this. Yeah, of course here it feels a little bit less smooth in a way because it's not all the time electric. Then and like the EV sound is really pronounced, right? Like when it is in the EV mode, let's say you have to have the sound. This is what you don't hear with the pure electric version at all, So here, it's not as smooth as for the drivetrain because you have a little bit this going back and forth. But the more gentle you are with the throttle, the less you will feel that effect. But indeed, I told you earlier, like how we sit in the vehicle actually is pretty much the same. Not a big difference for the feet or something, or with the middle. So the inside cabin, I also asked the engineers, like the inside cabin is actually the same. Yeah. So the overall height, overall exterior seems to be like 5 millimeter difference or something minimal, but the interior cabin they said is the same. And we also do feel that. So yeah, and here for example, going downhill, also shows me that I can use the recuperation. Of course, the hybrid battery is not that large, but you can still use this recuperation effect. So the thing is, the hybrid drivetrain itself is smooth in comparison to, let's say, some other petrol engines and so on, because there's also no classic shifting and so on. But in comparison to the EV, then this one here is less smooth. It's only because the EV is even smoother. But especially when you keep it very gently with the throttle, it's a nice system just to cruise around and everything. Suspension, we have basically the same here, 19-inch wheels. Yes, the less is weight, but when I do some lane change here, do you feel this is less in weight than the EV?
No.
But maybe a little, but it's probably something that is not that significant. It is a significant difference in weight, yes, but since the weight is also put low in the vehicle, it's maybe just becoming obvious when you're hitting like really, really tight corners and so on. It's also still a silent ride here at 45 miles an hour. I want to check out how it is then here on the highway as well. But so far, it's pretty similar in the drive, especially because in the front we have here the acoustic windows. In the European hybrid spec, it will not be that case. And when you are sitting in the rear, then you will probably hear the difference from the rear acoustic windows missing at higher speeds especially. But here in the front, it's actually very similar. And I often have to take a look at, is the engine really on or not? And here at the moment it's off again, just a second before it was on. So when you are at low speeds, there's not much rolling noise, and then you really push the throttle, then you do hear the engine on or off. But as soon as you go a little bit faster and you don't push it so hard, it's really hard to notice if the engine is running or not, because they have also used more sound deadening now in comparison to the previous generation and tried to make the hybrid drivetrain even smoother and so on. And that is working very well. So also very pleasant drive. Is it similar in the noise level, would you say, or a little bit more? A little bit more? Because now maybe a little bit from the rear, right? I think then a little bit we do feel that the insulation is missing, but it's just a little bit actually. But very interesting to see about these differences. We'll keep on driving a little bit more, and then also keep you updated with the realistic MPG figure. And I probably would have guessed it, MPG, 46, 47 MPG US, so it's about 56 MPG UK. That's the typical 5 liters on 100 kilometers Toyota, Lexus hybrid consumption. It almost doesn't matter which of the cars it is and which size, it always gets this 5 liters on 100 kilometers, which is awesome, for a combustion engine. And you can really make use, of some recuperation and then starting in the EV mode again, going downhill, EV only and so on. So both drive exceptionally well. And then the question is, which powertrain is the most or more convincing to you? I can say both work very well. Both drive in a very smooth way. The EV, of course, maybe a little bit more smoother even, but that really depends what charging infrastructure do you have and what driving profile. Are you okay with that EV range, or you need the range of this one here? That one, by the way, says 600 miles at this moment. So that would be double the range on one charge, if that's relevant to you. And last but not least, about the pricing, they don't want to make such a big difference between the hybrid and the electric model. That is again like one argument where they can say, hey, that's why we also went for smaller batteries, that we can reach this price equality. Yet again, other manufacturers already reached price equality, although they use bigger batteries, or almost price equality. Starts here about $50,000 in North America. In Europe, will start at 60,000 euros, and then you can add some, depending on the version, and extra trim, almost to 20,000 euros, that you can get like 80,000 euros. So still, really expensive when you go for the highest trim. So I would recommend rather keeping it lower trim or mid trim, so that you can actually achieve a very attractive price, because then it kind of makes sense, because you get a long vehicle with a lot of space and good luxury features, and they will be fine in the lower and mid trims, but then pay less than with the competition. Then I think this car really makes sense. What do you think? Tell me in the comments, and now check out the competition.